when we say about retirement planning, what is the first thing that comes into your mind?
Well, I think it's very, very important, and I think not a lot of people think about it, because most people assume that they'll be all right after retirement. So I think the first thing that comes to mind is the need for financial planning in particular, and the fact that most of us neglect it.
Okay, for the second question, at what age do you think is the best for people to start planning for their retirement? Because when they start, say, prepare for retirement, they can prepare financially, not just financially, and also mentally.
Yeah.
So, in your opinion, what about?
I think the earlier the better. I think when people start working, when they are in their 20s, they can already start thinking ahead, because it's linked to the bigger question of what do they want to do in their life. So it's not just about retirement, it's not just about the money. It's about what is their life plan, And as they look ahead to the next 20 years, 30 years, 40 years, 50 years, I think the question they need to answer is, what do they want to do for the remainder of their life, especially after they're 60 and 70. And then when they've got a clear sense of a life goal, a life plan, some people say, I want to travel, some people say, I just want a quiet life, some people say they want to play golf for the rest of their life, they want great-grandchildren or whatever it is, then I think they can work backward and get a better sense of the financial plan, the social plan, where they want to live. Do they want to be here in Malaysia? Do they want to be in a kampung? Do they want to be in a big city? Do they want to be in Australia, New Zealand, Canada? So I think all of these retirement plans are linked to the fundamental question of what do I want to do with my life? And therefore, to me, that there is, the sooner the better when it comes to, all right, thinking about this. So I think when they are very young, they can already start at least looking at options.
We did a survey earlier around the campus, and most of the students say that they're not ready to prepare for retirement.
Sure.
Or they want to prepare for retirement when they're around 40s, late 30s, or even 50s.
Sure. Sure.
So, in your opinion, as an expert in psychology, why do you think they have such mentality towards retirement?
Well, I think, it's a short-term thinking approach. I think that's very normal. Young working adults also usually don't think about retirement because it's too far ahead in the future. So it's not something that they worry about. And I think the assumption is that, look, everything will be all right, that it is something that you can do in a short space of time. And they don't realize that, for example, financially, you need a few $1 million in the bank to survive, nowadays. Just having a few 100,000 will not last you more than 2 or 3 years, for example. But like I said, I think the problem is most people still link retirement, planning to something that old fogies do, and they don't want to work anymore. Whereas I think the way they should be thinking about it is in terms of their own life goals and plans. That retirement doesn't need to be a negative time. It doesn't need to be a boring time. It doesn't necessarily mean that they have nothing to do. In fact, retirement planning is something quite exciting, because the question you ask yourself is, what do you want to do? Right? Yeah.
Do you think it's got to do with the government, with the parents, education system, which lack of implementing retirement preparedness in their system?
Could be. I think everybody takes responsibility, but you can't blame other people. It's also our fault. It's just that we don't plan. But I agree that the education system, maybe we can do more. So in school, certainly in university, it can be something that is included in the curriculum.
What do you think is the best approach you can suggest for the youngsters to start planning for retirement? The best approach.
A best approach, like I say, don't think of it just in terms of money or in terms of where you're living, but think of it in terms of, look, these should be the best years of your life. When you don't need to work anymore, you've got all the free time in the world. So the question you should ask yourself is, what is it you want to do with your life? I think that's the best approach. So you're not planning because you have to. You're planning because this is something that is exciting and fun. Like I say, you can achieve a lot of dreams at that particular part of your life. That's when people have time and they've got money. So think of it from that positive perspective, and then it's a lot better. Yeah.
So for the last question, we want to know what you think about our campaign that we are organizing for youngsters to start planning for retirement. What do you think about this campaign?
I think it's a very important campaign, like I say, because it's not just about thinking about retirement, but it's thinking about what we want in life, and as we plan our retirement and we ask ourselves questions about how we want to live our life, it triggers off other thoughts and questions in our head, about what is important to us in our life, what our values are, how we want to spend our short time here on earth, what is really important to us. So I think it's a really useful debate, and I like the fact of being prepared because like depression rates and things like that tend to be high during retirement because a lot of people are not prepared for it. A lot of people tend to see their life in terms of just their job. So when they don't have their jobs anymore, when they don't have their work anymore, they don't find that motivation or impetus in life. And I think that's a bad thing. So I think, all these elements of the campaign, getting young people to think to the future, to be more long-term in the way they look at life, it's a good thing, so that they're not caught unaware. Yeah?
Alright, Doctor. So are you prepared for your retirement?
I'm in the process of being more prepared now. Right?
Alright. We would like to thank Mr. Goh for your time and your cooperation for this interview.